Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary. Today is going to be a very belated August wrap up. So I have not filmed anything or posted anything in like over a month. I do have a video that I filmed over a month ago that I have not edited that does need to go up. That's a book haul. So that will go up at some point, but this is going to be an August wrap up. I don't know if this is going to go up before the book haul or after the book haul. Sorry for the lack of posting. I don't really know how this happened, but it did. And so now we're just going to move on. We're gonna go through all the books I read in August. I don't know how many there are. I'm gonna tell you what I remember about them, what I liked about them, what I didn't like about them, if I can remember. And then we're just gonna keep it pushing. I read 10 books in the month of August, and I'm gonna go through them in the order in which I enjoyed them. So I think I do have a least favorite. Yeah, so my least favorite book that I read in August is a new release. It's called The Girl in the Creek by Wendy N. Wagner. It did come out this year. I believe it came out in July, but don't quote me on that. Either July or June. It's a cli-fi, I guess, and I was really looking forward to this because I thought I would really like it. So the premise is there's this woman who, I think it's in the Pacific Northwest. She goes to this town that her brother, I think, went missing from a while before, and then you get different perspectives. So that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about this book. At one point, you get the perspective of this coyote, through the different perspectives, you learn that there's this being that is sort of a hive mind type thing with a bunch of different creatures and stuff connected to it. And that was all very interesting, but it got really convoluted. I didn't really love the writing style. I didn't like the main character at all. And you're in her perspective a lot of the time. She constantly makes comments about like how attractive people around her are and like if she's like romantically interested in them, and it just never felt like the right time to be making those comments. The best part of this book was the very end, because it has sort of a like just one of those endings where it's like you think this the whole time, and then the end of the book you're like, oh, something different's going on. And I thought that was very fun. However, it didn't make up for the rest of the book being not very enjoyable. I did listen to this on a plane. I was flying to Wyoming for a friend of my husband's wedding. The wedding was lovely. And I think that was the beginning of the end of me not finishing anything for the rest of, or me not making any videos for the last month, because I think I meant to pre-film for Wyoming, didn't do it, and then I just didn't film anything when I got back. So there we are. So yes, I gave that book 2 stars. If I'd filmed this closer in time to finishing it, I probably would have better reasoning for why I gave it 2 stars, but that's what I remember not liking about it. Okay, the next lowest rated book in August that I read was Goodbye, Sweet Girl by Kelly Sundberg. I believe that's correct. This is a memoir, so I did not rate it on Goodreads because I didn't really like it that much. But it was fine. It just wasn't like a favorite. And I thought that it was a concept that I've seen done better before, which sounds bad because it is someone's life story. But it's a book about a woman who's leaving an abusive relationship. And that's kind of all it's about. I didn't care for it. I don't really remember specifics of it, but I thought it was fine. Moving on to some 4-star reads. So the first book I gave 4 stars in August was Priest by Sierra Simone, which I do own. I do think that this is in the book haul that I most recently filmed but have not put up yet. And in that, I think I talk about this book a little bit as well because I hadn't reviewed it yet. But now when you see that video, I will have reviewed it. I gave this 4 stars. I think in that video I had a more negative perception of it than I remember having. I didn't dislike this book. It is definitely not something that I would like say is a favorite for me, but I do like certain types of taboo romances, and this is a romance between a priest and a parishioner. And I have no Catholic guilt. I'm not Catholic, so that's something that like works for me. I like that like dynamic kind of. The same way I felt about like The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, where it's like technically taboo because it's like a teacher and student, but it's actually not her teacher. It's just a professor at her school, and I think he's like a faculty advisor or something in that one. Anyways, I like stuff like that, like a little bit forbidden, a little bit not allowed. This one's very forbidden because a priest, obviously. The whole thing, I also thought this was interesting. The whole thing is told from the perspective of the priest, whose name I'm never going to remember. Tyler Bell. His name is Tyler Bell. The girl's name is Poppy. Thus the poppies on the cover. This is part of a series that follows all of the Bell brothers and just like various mishaps they get into. I think the next one is a brother and a nun. And the one after that is like a brother becomes a monk and takes a vow of chastity and then wants to have sex with somebody, I guess. That was the biggest flaw for me in this book. There's a ton of smut in here, which for me only works, like sometimes I'm in the mood for that and other times I am very much not. So it's like a know yourself situation if you like that or you don't like that. Again, for me it ebbs and flows. But in this one, Tyler Bell is the new priest at this church. Poppy Danforth is running away from something that has happened to her, and she decides to move to this small town where he is the priest. Fun fact, the small town is Weston, Missouri, which is very close to Kansas City. which is where I live. So I thought that was very fun. Just like a local thing, I guess. But in this book, they sort of start with like a sexual relationship. Murphy wants to come in. Hold on. Sorry if you can hear them running around. They just came in from outside. That's just going to be what it is. But in this book, they like start with like a sexual relationship because they're both really attracted to each other. And then it sort of becomes more romantic. However, I did not buy into them being in love. Like that never made sense to me. And I think if we had gotten her perspective, I might have felt a little more like maybe they're in love, but I just didn't feel that, which is why I didn't give 5 stars, but I gave it 4 stars. So I must have had a great time reading it. That was my first Sierra Simone, and I've heard a lot about Sierra Simone. So I'm glad I finally got around to reading one of them. The next 4 star that I have to talk about is Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood. I have been reading this book for months, okay? For whatever reason, I cannot read an ebook to save my freaking life right now, okay? If it doesn't have an audiobook, I'm not reading it, which I think has been a thing for me for like 2 years, and I'm really getting sick of it. However, Alias Grace is about, it's like historical fiction kind of, so I didn't know what to expect going into this one, but it's about this girl named Grace, and it's based on a true event wherein this girl named Grace Marks is a convict at a penitentiary in Ontario, and she has killed her boss and another woman who like worked with her. She was a housekeeper type thing, and then the woman was like kind of the house manager, and Grace and this other guy who was like the stable boy get together and they kill the guy who owns the house and like is their employer, and this girl, Nancy, I think is the girl's name. And where Alias Grace is, it's like 15 years in the future after she's done this, and she's a convict, and she's being interviewed by a psychologist trying to figure out why she did it. And she doesn't have any memory of the actual crime, allegedly. So you're interspersing between the story that she's telling him and then her memories of the event. And then there's like also clippings from newspapers at the time discussing it and different things that happen. This one was interesting. I was really enjoying it for a while, and then I thought it got kind of boring. And then I started enjoying it again towards the end. So this was one of those that like, I liked it a lot, but for a while I thought it was going to be a 5 star, and then it just really wasn't. And I don't know if that was like me losing interest in physically reading, or if it was the book, if that makes sense. So 4 stars for Alias Grace. I enjoyed it. There is a mini series that I would like to watch. I have not watched it yet, but it is on my like radar now because I would like to see what it's like. I think it came out in 2017. Do not quote me on that. But 2017 to me feels like a very recent thing. It was 8 years ago. I graduated college in 2017. So it's been a while. So anyways, the next 4 stars that I gave was These Violent Delights by Micah Nemerever. This one is about 2 boys in Pennsylvania. I think it's like Pittsburgh maybe. And they are in college, I believe. One of them lives at home. The other one lives in the dorms. And the one that lives at home, it's because like he's got kind of like family issues going on. And he's poorer, so he can't really afford to live on campus. And the one who lives in the dorms is wealthy. And they sort of get this like obsession with each other. And it's just, this was described to me as dark academia. And it may be, like it is set on a campus. It does have this like, because it's in Pittsburgh and a lot of it's through the winter time, it's got this like chilly, cold, barren feel to it, which I thought was really well accomplished. Sorry, I keep kicking my tripod. Also, it starts with a crime of sorts, and then you spend the whole time reading the book and it gets back to the crime. And the crime is like, I don't remember exactly what happens. I think it's murder, but it could be something else. But I think it's murder. I'm doing a terrible job. But again, it happens at the very beginning. And then you find out how these boys met, sort of what was going on, how they like developed this weird relationship with each other, and then how their like joined ideas become this idea to commit this crime, if that makes sense. And also how they choose the victim of their crime. So again, I really liked it. It's very dark, but I enjoyed it a lot. And I can't remember if you get both perspectives. You definitely get the perspective of the more poor boy. I feel like you get both perspectives, but don't quote me on that again. I don't recall. The next 4 star I have to talk about is called The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. Do I own this one too? I guess I don't own it. My bad. But this is like a philosophical book, and it's about a guy who turns into a bug and how his family reacts to him. And I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's very absurd, and I feel like it's been the inspiration for a lot of other books and movies. I had many more thoughts about this book at the time that I read it that I no longer have. But I did enjoy it. Very absurd. Definitely inspired a lot of like modern sci-fi, maybe. It's like an existentialist book too, I feel like, because it's this guy, he turns into a bug and then he like watches his whole family struggle with that. And I don't know. I did like it. You'll have to trust me on that, but I cannot articulate to you why I liked it, what I liked about it, or anything really more than that. But it is what it is. Okay. All right, and that might be the end of the 4 stars for me. Okay, great. I did have a reread in August, sorry. I reread I'm Not Dying With You Tonight by Kimberly Jones and Gilly Segal. I don't know how their names are pronounced. I read this book originally a long time ago. I remember like liking it fine. It's a YA contemporary. It's based loosely around, there was a thing in the news at the time where there was a Black Lives Matter protest and there were students on a school bus who got stuck in the middle of this protest and like couldn't leave, and the protest turned very violent once the police arrived and started interacting with the protesters. And so that was the idea for this. But Kimberly Jones is a Black woman. Gilly Segal is a white woman. And so they alternate chapters, and it's from the perspective of a Black girl whose name is Lena, I believe, and a white girl whose name is Campbell. And Campbell is new to Atlanta, and she moved there to live with her dad, who owns a hardware store, okay? And her mom is something high up, but she just got placed at a job in Venezuela, and she doesn't want Campbell's high school experience to be disrupted. So instead, she disrupts it by moving her from whatever nice area of town they lived in to her dad's, and she switches schools. And I think she's actually new to like Georgia as a whole. I think she lived in like the Northeast somewhere before, but she's a senior in high school. She's not really getting to do any of the things she used to do. Like she used to run track, she used to do all this stuff, and she's sort of like just having to fly under the radar. And she gets voluntold into working the concession stand at a high school football game. Lena is a girl who goes to this high school. She's Black. And her biggest thing is that she's got this boyfriend named Black. I can't remember. He has a real name that you find out towards the end of the book, but everyone calls him Black, and he wants to be a rapper, and he thinks he's very cool, but he's older. And Lena the whole time is like trying to get in touch with Black. Okay. And this riot, so the football game is between rival schools, and a riot breaks out at the football game, and Lena and Campbell get stuck together, and they have to travel on foot through the city of Atlanta back to their homes, like to safety. And it's about all the stuff that happens along the way. I enjoyed this book on reread. Again, I thought it was fine the first time I read it. I liked it more on reread, and it was just something, I was in the mood for something that like I wasn't gonna have to think too much about. I'd already read this before. It's like high enough stakes to where it would keep me entertained, but also, again, I've read it before, so low enough stakes where it wasn't like going to take up too much of my brain. Also, it's YA, so that is like typically easier to digest. I'm very glad that I reread it. I really enjoyed it, and that's that on that. Now coming into my 5-star reads. So the first 5-star I gave, where is it? First 5-star I gave this month was Trust of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. Are we at all surprised that I gave a Brandon Sanderson book 5 stars? We should not be. I don't know. I think there's a couple that I've given like 3 and 4 stars, but for the most part, I love everything that this man puts out. I think he's a great writer. His writing style really works for me. Other people don't like it as much. That's fine. You can like what you like. I like what I like. I like his worlds. I like that his worlds connect with each other. I like the little Easter eggs. I think it's fun. The premise of this one is that there's a girl named Tress, and she is a window washer, I believe, at the Duke's mansion on her island. And in this world, the oceans are filled with these things called spores, which are very dangerous. So people don't really travel that much. And spores are attracted to water, and they can like kill you. And it's kind of scary. So Tress and the Duke's son, who is like, he does this thing where he pretends like he's not the Duke's son, but she knows that he is the whole time. They have this sort of like flirtation relationship. I've heard this book comped to The Princess Bride, and I do think in like tones and vibe, it's very similar. Not really in plot. It's kind of like a reversal on the plot, actually. But essentially, the Duke's son ends up having to go somewhere else to find a wife with the Duke, and then the Duke returns a year later, and he doesn't have a son with him anymore. He's got this like nephew of his, and the nephew has a wife, and Tress is like, well, where's your son? And he's like, well, you know, she finds out that he ended up getting traded to like the Sea Witch for something, and then Tress is like, well, I gotta go find him and save him. And that's the story that's happening. There's also like a talking rat that she meets on a boat. She ends up stuck on a pirate boat, and it's very fun. I had a great time, It's like very adventure driven. I really definitely feel like this is one of those Brandon Sanderson books that would work really well for like young adult audiences. I don't know if it is young adult, but I think it would work well for that. And it was fun. I had a fantastic time reading it. I loved it. 5 stars. The next book I gave 5 stars is The Love Match by Priyanka Taslim. I am obsessed with this book. It was so good. So this is like a almost Jane Austen-esque inspired contemporary romance, YA contemporary romance. And the premise is there's this girl who's Bangladeshi American. She lives in this town in New Jersey, I think, that is like very South Asian population heavy. So it was the main character, whose name I'm not going to remember, which I feel really bad about, but I did really enjoy this book, okay? So she is a senior in high school maybe, and she's trying to go to college next year, but something's happening where her family doesn't have very much money, okay? And so her parents are trying to set her up with this guy who's from like a really rich family, and she thinks he's really pretentious and kind of a jerk, okay? And so she doesn't really like him, he doesn't really like her, but they agree to fake date to try to get their families off their back. But the way they're going to fake date is because they have supervised dates because of their culture. It's more like, not really an arranged, it's more like a courtship than dating, if that makes sense. Because their parents are sort of trying to arrange a marriage, but it's not like a blind arranged marriage, if that makes sense. Sorry. So they keep going on dates with each other and just behaving poorly so that their chaperones will report back to their parents that they're not getting along, that she's rude, that he's rude, like just that they're just not a good match, basically. So that's going on. And then at the same time, this main girl works at a cafe, and at the cafe there's another guy who works there, and she really likes him, and he's like a musician. He's very poor. There's rumors around town that he's an orphan, that he's homeless, that all this stuff. And so her parents really don't approve of that match. And it's just this like little love triangle thing happening, and the way it all resolves. I had a great time with this one. I absolutely loved it. I don't know. I want to read more by Priyanka Taslim now because Taslim, I don't know how her name is pronounced. I'm really sorry. I loved it. And I am so thankful that I found something that I loved, like a YA contemporary romance. I do like occasionally find good ones that I'm just like really obsessed with, and this is one of those. Speaking of YA contemporaries that I'm like occasionally really obsessed with, You Have a Match by Emma Lord. So that one's The Love Match. This one's You Have a Match. I did not do that on purpose, but I read them back to back. You Have a Match is about a teenage girl who does a like DNA biology test, a DNA blood test thing, because her friends and her are competing to see who's the most Irish. And she finds out that she has a full sister who is just out in the world, who's like a year and a half older than her. And she's like, what the hell, mom and dad? Like, why do I have a sister? Like, that I have 2 parents matching with this sister. She has younger brothers too, but like, she never knew about the sister. And rather than confront the sister or confront the parents about it, her sister emails her and is like, oh my God, hi, I'm your sister. I was adopted, blah, 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 blah. And she convinces her to go to the summer camp so that they can get to know each other. There's also sort of a romance going on in the background between the main character and her like boy best friend that she kind of has had a crush on forever, but something happened to where their other best friend told her that he didn't like her, so she's like kind of giving up on it, but she does have a crush on him. And then she finds out he has always gone to the summer camp with her actual sister, and that dynamic plays out. This book is super fun. It made me very emotional just because it is like, I don't know, that would be so like hard. And I really like Emma Lord. I think Emma Lord does a really good job with her plots. She makes them interesting. She has like a little bit of a romance subplot, but they're not usually very romance heavy, and this one was the same way. And I loved it. But I did really enjoy this book. Again, I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. I had a great time. I laughed, I cried. It moved me. The next book I gave 5 stars that I'm kind of surprised about, I own this one too. Wild, From Lost to Found on the Pacific Crest Trail by Cheryl Strayed. I have the movie cover because I got this in a little free library. Here's the thing. I read Tiny Beautiful Things. Is that the Cheryl Strayed one? And I thought it was fine. Like, it's essays, right? So not quite the same as like a full memoir, but they are very memoir-esque. However, I think if I had read her actual memoir before reading that, I would have liked it much more. I love this memoir. It's about this woman, I guess. I always say girl. I'm so sorry. It's about this woman who, at the beginning of the book, has just gone through a divorce. Her mother has died. And it's like all this stuff has happened, and she's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go hike the Pacific Crest Trail. And she is a novice hiker, okay? I saw a lot of complaints about people being like, she was so unprepared to do this. That's kind of the point. That's kind of like the, I don't know, the je ne sais quoi, the the beauty of the book is that she's very unprepared to do this, but she just has to do something. And this is what she chooses to do. And so it's about her struggling through the hike, overpacking her pack, not really understanding the weather patterns there, the people she meets along the way, etc. I also read the Bill Bryson book about the Appalachian Trail. Frankly, didn't like it. So I don't know what it is about his writing. I don't like any of his books. I'm so sorry if you enjoy them. But this writing style really worked for me, and the way she intertwined memoir with her like hike journey. It's also like, I think other people were expecting it to be more about the trail. It's about her. It's not about the trail. She's just hiking the trail, and she used a lot of her journals from when she was on this trail, because she was journaling the whole time in the book to like inform how she was feeling about things. And I loved it. I ate it up. Again, it made me cry. It was very like poignant and emotional, and it's just about like feeling at a point in your life where you're like, I don't understand why I feel like I did everything I was supposed to do and nothing really has worked out. That's where she is, and I loved it. I really did. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did because it's been so long since it came out, because I've heard of it so much, and I loved it. I get the hype on that one. And I think that's the last book that I have to talk about, so we may have made it all the way through. Let me double check, but I do not have any DNFs to discuss. Okay, I have one DNF to discuss. I should have done this at the beginning, but I did not have it clearly labeled when I DNF'd it. All right. The DNF I have to discuss with you is What If This Were Enough by Heather Havrilesky. This is an essay collection, and in her first essay, she talks about how no one is ever satisfied, and then all she ever does is complain in that first essay, and I don't know if that's supposed to be ironic or satirical or whatever, but I did not enjoy it, and I was like, I can't put myself through 300 pages of this. So that is why I put that one down. I don't really have anything else to say about it other than that. Those are the books that I tried to read and did read in the month of August. The next video you see from me will probably be a book haul, and then after that you'll probably see my September TBR. I'm going to try to post more regularly now. Again, we'll see if that happens, but thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. If you would like to, you can subscribe to my channel because I post when I post and I don't when I don't. And I will see you in another video hopefully very soon. Bye.